Welcome to Swartz Talkin Sports. I'm your host, Les Swartz. Our second show this week. This I've been looking forward to for a long time. I'm really psyched about this show. Before we bring on tonight's special guest, let's bring on one of my co-hosts right away, and that would be former Florida A&M Rattler quarterback, national champion quarterback, 1978 team, Al the Rattler Chester, voice of the Rattler basketball and football broadcast. So let's bring on Al.
Happy hump day, Les. What's going on, baby?
Al, it feels
85 degrees here in JVille.
Al, it's 85 degrees in the studio. I just want to let you know. We're going to bring Benny on a little bit later, and we're going to talk a lot of sports when the book comes on. But before we bring out tonight's special guest, I'm going to have our producer, Tony, run the opening reel.
25, Kansas City. There's the snap to Mahomes. He's back. Mahomes stepping up, being chased, rolling to his left, looking, lobs it downfield. It is incomplete. Lions will take over on downs, no flags. They've all filed in behind that, leans in. There's the snap. Jared back, looking, throwing, middle, caught, first down, touchdown, Detroit Lions. Oh, baby, Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Swartz Talkin Sports is proud to present area scout for the defending NFC North champion Detroit Lions, Patrick Mularkey.
Hey guys.
Patrick.
Hey, Pat, how you doing?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
He's ready to roll. We've had a good discussion for the last half hour. We could have made one show out of that one, but listen, really appreciate you taking time out of your schedule. I know you're doing a lot of scouting duties as we speak. I know the other day we were talking, you were looking at film, so we'll get into all that. We've got a lot of people backing up, wanting to speak with you. Got a great live audience today, so let's start it off. Let's start right off the bat. Do we have any questions, Joni, right off the bat?
We don't, but we do have some. Can you guys hear me?
I can.
Okay. We don't, but we do have some good comments that I'd like to share with you.
Sure.
Rob says Detroit is ranked 5th in the NFL by LV as of today. These aren't your father's Lions.
Ah, there we go.
Yeah, and
Not
then
your father's Lions.
he further says Lions are the darlings of the NFL this year. Well,
let me tell you something. The Lions were one half away from going to the Super Bowl last year against the Niners. We'll talk a little bit about it, but let's talk about Patrick. First of all, you're an area scout for the Lions. Exactly, how did you get into the scouting business? When we talk area scout, what does it exactly entail? Is that like a certain region of the country, certain schools that you look at? Maybe you can kind of fill us in a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I kind of grew up in the business a little bit. My pops is a coach in the league. Mm-hmm. So that kind of piqued my interest early. And I actually started going to the combine with him, I think my freshman year of college, just going for like a week and just volunteering and doing whatever I can. But that kind of really piqued my interest in scouting, something I wanted to do. So right after college, I just applied for an entry-level job, was able to get my foot in the door with Jacksonville, and just kind of went from there. Now I'm currently the area scout for the Lions. I cover what we call the Southwest, but it's the states of Mississippi, Louisiana, Arkansas, Texas, and I'm in charge of going through all those schools and watching every draft eligible player within that school and trying to identify their talent and we're trying to identify what kind of people they are.
Hey Pat, I like to push back a little bit. Your father was a great player himself. Did you play the game in high school or college?
Yeah, I did in high school. I didn't make it to college. I kind of knew I wasn't the talent to go there, so I changed paths real quick and decided to go on the scouting side.
Okay.
Now, so you're in the Southwest, so you scout, well, of course, one of my favorite teams, the LSU Tigers. Mm-hmm. And I mean, look at what the Lions have done the last 4 or 5 years in the draft, and especially since Coach Campbell's come in. You guys really built this team. It's a really young team. Addressed some tremendous needs, starting with Penny Sewell, the offensive tackle. So you got your blind side protector for, the quarterback that you just actually signed, to a lucrative contract. Jared Goff. So he's the guy that's going to, bring you guys to the promised land, hopefully. But then you shore up the defensive positions. You get Aiden Hutchinson out of Michigan with the second pick overall. We'll talk about, how players were evaluated, but, this year you really had a need. The team was struggling in pass defense. So you went out first 2 rounds, you get Terrion Arnold, who Swartz Talkin Sports, we had him rated as the #1 cornerback. We must know what we're talking about. We actually had some guy rated #1, and the Lions got him, and they got Ennis Rakestraw, the corner out of Missouri, as well, with their top 2 picks. So I think with those 2 picks, Patrick, I think that the Lions really addressed some of their shortcomings, and I think they're more prepared to battle the San Francisco or the Eagles or a Jordan Love-led Green Bay team.
Yeah, I think there's no secret that was an area that we had to address. It was kind of a problem at the very end of the season, and then led into the playoffs, and it ultimately ended with our demise in the playoffs there. So we needed to address it. We did a good job for agency too. We added, Carlton Davis, and I think it was the other guy. Amik Robertson,
right, from the Raiders.
Good, yeah. So those are 2 good players, and then we got the 2 guys in the draft, which were huge for us. So they were our top 2 corners on the board, and they both fell to us. So that went from a major weakness to a major strength for us. So it's going to be very competitive and fun to watch in camp.
I tell you what, I like to just kind of co-sign what Les has already said. The Detroit Lions were the darlings of the NFL last season. I was pulling for them for the big upset, man. And I tell you what, you guys have done a tremendous job. This doesn't even look like the Detroit Lion team that we're used to. The Barry Sanders Detroit Lion team, totally different, young, aggressive, and can play, man. And I tell you what, they're going to be exciting to watch this coming season.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. It's been great to see all the fans kind of jump on board. And I think it started, when we did the Hard Knocks show, and everyone just kind of saw the personalities of our team and our head coach and our general manager, and how easy they are to root for. And then obviously we just became a really talented team. We were able to maximize some of those early picks that we had the last couple of years with the Panays and the Hutchinsons and James Williams and Laportas and Gibbs, a lot of guys. So we were able to turn into a pretty good team, and we saw a little bit of last year. I think that's just kind of the beginning, and I think we're in for a couple of good years here. We're going to be in the thick of things the next couple of years.
Well, you mentioned Laporta. I mean, this is incredible. You have Hawkinson, who you guys draft out of Iowa, I believe. Iowa's like tight end university. And you trade him away to Minnesota, I think, and for some picks. And then you go and get Laporta, who might be a top 3 tight end in the league. I mean, he is tremendous. Great hands, runs great routes, is not afraid to block. He's not a Kelsey type player where he's a 4th wide receiver or 5th wide receiver. This guy is going to get dirty. He's going to do some dirty work for you. So great picks there. My question, Al, and I'm going to ask Patrick about this, and I want to get your take on it, Al, too, as we talk about it. The last 3, 4, 5 years, there's been a shift in drafting certain positions in the NFL. It used to be a run league to set up the pass. Now it's really more pass happy with, the triggermen coming in there throwing 40, 50 times a game. Very rarely do running backs go high. You guys took a chance last year on Jahmyr Gibbs from Alabama. The transfer out of Georgia Tech went to Alabama. A speed merchant. You can't coach speed. The kid's got it all over. And he comes right in, and he fits in seamlessly with the Lions. 1-2 punch with Montgomery is more of an inside, more of a thumper back. What is the reason, do you think, just personally, of why I'm going to say devalued. I'm not going to say it's devalued, but why it's more wide receivers, tight ends, offensive tackles, quarterbacks taken, and less running backs? Is it just because it's been a league switch to the passing game?
Yeah, I don't think it's any more complicated than that. I just think it's that we've developed into more of a passing league, and just the running back position has become of less value in this league. You're finding teams that are identifying running backs later in the draft, so you don't have to, draft too early. And and a lot of those early picks are going to tackles, like you said, quarterbacks, wide receivers, because that's kind of what the league is now. But with Gibbsy, we never really viewed him as a running back. He was purely viewed as a weapon because of all the things that we could do with him out of the backfield, in the slot. So, a lot of people talk about positional value, which it's a big, keyword that's thrown around a lot during the draft process, but you never hear it once the season starts because positional value doesn't exist. So we're just trying to find good football players, and he was a really good one. So we jumped on him when he was there.
Al, you can't teach speed.
You can't teach it at all. And I tell you what, the game has gone 5 wide. I'm an old school guy. Inside that red zone, I was used to handing that thing off double tight, and we're going to beat it down the opponent's throat. But you'd be on the 3-yard line and be 5 wide, the quarterback in the shotgun, and they throw the football around. But the tight running backs that they go after now are kids who can play, who can catch, who can run pass routes. They're versatile tight running backs. And you don't see the big bruising Larry Zonka type backs anymore, but the backs that you're going to see. And you got to have it to have that balance in your attack. I mean, in a way you look at it. Yeah.
Yeah. And, that's why we have, David Montgomery, who's kind of that thumper or that hammer. He's more than that, in my opinion. I think he can do a little more. He is a good athlete. He's got speed. He can catch the ball, but he does have that ability to lower his pads and get those tough yards that Gibbs may not be able to get. But, there's a place for those guys. I'm a big Pittsburgh guy. Grew up in Pittsburgh, so I believe in, pound the rock too. I still think that's an important part of the game, especially late in the season. When it gets cold and deep in the playoffs, you got to be able to run the ball. So, with all these things, you got to catch the ball. We want to spread it out, but at the end, you still got to be able to just lower your helmet and run through somebody.
And if you want to eat up the clock late in the game and you've got a lead, there's nothing better to do than to have somebody like a Derrick Henry toting the ball, 10 or 15 times in the fourth quarter. Yeah. He can wear down a defense, that's for sure. We do have some questions out there right now, so let's go to Joni and now throw a couple questions at our special guest, area scout for the Lions, Patrick Mularkey.
Okay, Patrick, you are very popular because I've got at least 8, probably more questions coming in.
Wow, you got the record, Patrick.
Yes, definitely. Okay, so Rob asks, what position do you enjoy scouting the most?
Ooh, man. I would have to say, I think I like defensive line, interior and edge. I just like watching it, pass rushers. I like them, just watch them kind of, thug it out in the middle there. I also like doing interior alignment too. I like watching guards. Honestly, I like watching them all. Probably my least favorite was probably safety, just because it takes forever to see them do something. Sometimes, sometimes they're so far back out of the play that you watch 10, 15 plays before they do anything. So, but I like the interior guys the most.
Before we go to another question, Joni, so why don't you talk, speaking of that, you guys chose in the 6th round, pick number 189, Mekhi Wingo, kid who transferred out of Missouri. Maybe a lot of people see him as being undersized. He's about 6'1", about 290. But, really played well at LSU. We got some good video here of Mekhi making the sack. Love that game. Saw it. What can you tell us a little bit about Mekhi Wingo? Yeah,
Mekhi was like one of my favorite players coming into the year. And then he played really well again before he left with the injury. But he's a great kid, great person. He got that number 18, as you know, that's a big honor there at LSU. For people who don't know, that goes to the people with the highest football and personal character. So it says a lot about who he is. But as a player, he's undersized, but he makes up for it for a lot of things. He's really quick off the ball. He lands his hands really fast. He's athletic. He plays with natural leverage, so he gets underneath guys at the point. I think he does a really good job of just awareness of where the ball is. Those undersized guys at times, they'll get lost in the block in those big bodies and they can't find the ball. For a guy that's short and a little bit of short arms, he can keep separation from the block and find the ball really, really well. But he also has that ability to just get off the rock and shoot gaps and get upfield and get on edges and pressure the quarterback. So really excited about him, especially getting him in the 6th round. That was awesome.
Great question. Now, how about another question, Joni?
Okay. John Irwin asks, other than quarterback, what's the most important position to draft? It seems like lately the top 3 out of 4 positions are offensive.
I would say the premier positions outside of quarterback are, quarterback, probably left tackle, edge rusher, and corner. That's why you always see those positions go early. Those are the premier. You need the quarterback. You can't win this league without a quarterback. You got to be able to protect the quarterback, especially if he's a right-handed, so you want that left tackle, You need a corner that can shut down, usually the best offensive player. And then the edge rusher, you got to be able to pressure the quarterback. So those guys, those are the premier positions and that's why you see all those positions go early in the draft, just because they're so important and key to building a winning team.
Good question, John. Let's keep them rolling, Joni.
Oh, good. Okay, Daniel Kisthart. He asks, what is your workload like during the season and then during the off season?
Oh, this is a good one.
Oh, heavy and heavy. There's no off season. I know there's kind of a misconception that we work only during football season, and that is a heavy part of it. That's when the college football season is going on. That is when we are out on the road, going into these schools, watching the tape, talking to people within the building, learning as much as we can about these kids, and also evaluating them. So that is probably that is the hardest part of the year is the fall. A lot of time spent on the road in hotel rooms and away from family. So that's the grind, and that usually lasts from August to November. And then we usually get back into the swing of things again once the All-Star games start. That's the Senior Bowl, and then the pro days come around, the combine, and all that, and right into the draft. So, but it's it's a long day. I mean, it's usually at the facility by 7 and leaving by 7. So it's a long day.
Okay. Now, before we go to another question, you had told us earlier, talking to Al and I, that the Lions are one of the teams in the NFL that do not attend the actual combine in Indianapolis that they do every year. And listen, it's working. I mean, you guys are picking tremendous players. Yeah. I know you go to the pro day, but what was the reason? What was the rationale for the Lions not attending the annual combine?
That's just something our general manager brought from the Los Angeles Rams. Mm-hmm. They started doing that a couple years back, and he kind of brought that philosophy over to us. And, I think it's just because he wants to keep football the main thing. That's kind of why we draft is we're not, we don't want to get too caught up in the underwear Olympics, some people call it.
I like it. I like it.
We just want we just want a good football player. And sometimes, those things at the combine and all the numbers and stuff, you can get caught up into it and forget about what the guy is on tape. But we just want to keep blinders on and make sure we're drafting good football players, not good testers.
Well,
Patrick, is that also inclusive of the pro days they hold at the universities, at the schools themselves? I mean,
no, we go to all the pro days. Yeah, we do that.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So that's good to see. And we don't even really, when we go to the pro days, we don't even really put a whole lot of stock into the testing. We put more stock into the football drills that are done after testing, the positional drills. So just how they move around, how they play the ball, and we'll kind of give it a thumbs up, thumbs down based off the performance.
Got it.
Joni, we have some more questions?
We do. Let's keep them rolling. Matthew Dunn, what are the Lions' plans with Hendon Hooker? Now they signed Jared Goff to an extension.
I know why Matt asked that question, because his son's at University of Tennessee Vols. So,
okay. Hendon, actually, I was just watching Hendon on tape today. Hendon missed all of last year because of the injury. So this is really his first year. And the best thing that Hendon has going for him right now is Jared Goff. Jared Goff is our quarterback, and he's humming right now. We just paid him. He's playing really, really well. Mm-hmm. But that gives Hendon time to develop. He's coming off the injury, so this is really his rookie year. But he's also coming from an offense that takes a little bit of time to develop. It's all shotgun. It's really half field reads. So he's got to learn how to take a snap, do his drop backs, read the whole field. So that takes a little bit of time. You saw that a little bit today in practice. The talent's there. It's undeniable. That's why we took him in the 3rd round. We have a good plan for him. But his job right now is just to keep growing, keep getting better every day. So when his time comes, he's ready.
Now, again, I know we've got him so backed up right now, Patrick, but my question is from looking, when you're looking and evaluating a player, and this is not a guy that you took, but I'm just curious. I know Coach Bill Belichick, who was doing the draft with Pat McAfee. When the Patriots had drafted Drake May, he was all over May's footwork. You know, his feet are here, his feet are there. And listen, the guy was good enough to be drafted 3rd overall. But my question is, when you're evaluating a player, do you look at every part of that? I mean, I'm not just talking about the measurables, about his hand size and his arm length and things like that, but how he gets off the ball, like you said, certain moves he might have. Does he have a tendency to do one thing over another thing? As a wide receiver, does he get in and out of his breaks well? Does he? What makes a real good route runner versus an average route runner? Do you look at that all the time in a player?
Oh yeah, that's basically our job is to really kind of break these kids down all the way, from the athleticism standpoint, and just like we only know so much as far as what they're being asked to do on offense. So we can't kill them too much, but we can see what kind of athlete they are, what kind of change of direction, their speed, their explosiveness, their twitch, their strength, their ability to bend. So those are all things you can see on tape. You don't really need to know what they're being asked to do by their offensive or defensive coordinator. And those are things that we're looking for. Now, if you see something that you're not quite sure, those are times that we usually take a note down. And then when we have a chance to talk to the position coach, offensive coordinator, we can kind of get some clarity on like, hey, what was the quarterback's, keys here? What was he looking at? Was the receiver, having the right, footwork as far as he at the right depth? Does he break at the right point? Is the quarterback off? So those are things we can't identify in film, but we try to figure out once we talk with coaches and stuff like that.
Okay. This is fascinating to me. This is like football 101, Al. I know you lived it.
Absolutely. This is great, man. This is good stuff here. This is great stuff right here.
Okay, let's grab another question.
Okay.
Really?
Quite a few comments about your age. You look young for who you are.
I said he's like 32 years old. He's been in the business 11 years.
Okay.
I'm a little bit older than that, but I'm glad
I gotcha. So Barry Smith asks, you are young. Does the front office listen to the young scouts?
I hope so. I know I look young, but I do have 16 years in the business. So I've done 10 years of pro scouting. I'm doing my 5th as a college. I spent 1 year as a strength and conditioning coach. So I'm pretty well rounded. Been around the game a long time through my father, myself. So in our building, especially, and this is one thing I really appreciate about our general manager, Brad Holmes, is he does value our opinion. So he appreciates all the work that we do, and when we go out there and we bring all this information back and we present it, he's actually in tune to what we're saying, and it does play a part in the whole process and going into selecting players in April.
Now,
that was going to be my question, to walk us through that process. When you evaluate a kid, you get back to the office, you guys huddle up. I mean, walk us through that process, how that works.
Yeah, so like I said, we're on the road from about August, November, just kind of compiling all the information and evaluating the players. And then we'll get off the road. Usually our last day is Thanksgiving. We'll get off the road. And then usually, every team's different, but for us, we come together and do our draft meetings in early December, our first round of draft meetings. And that's when you present basically everything to our general manager and our upper management team. And you're going over every player within a certain grade range, and you're diving deep in on who they are. You're presenting on what kind of person this guy is off the field, in the building, how he treats people, how he takes care of himself, what kind of football intelligence does he have, and then you're deep diving into the player and what you think he is as a player, how he fits us, all that. And that's the first round, and then we start going into Senior Bowl, Combine, and pro days. And then once we get into, I think, the first week of April, we'll have one more set of meetings, and that's kind of like everything, your final say on the guy. And it's a little quicker meetings, but we usually have about 2 sets of them.
Now, I don't know if I'm stealing someone's thunder out there with a question, but my question is, how large is the Detroit Lions scouting department? Is it, how many area scouts are there? Who do you report to, and who do they report to? What's the hierarchy in the scouting department?
Yeah. So we have our general manager, Brad Holmes, and then we have an assistant GM and Ray Agnew. And those are our 2 bosses.
Ray Agnew, who used to play for the Patriots way back in the day?
Yeah.
Out of North Carolina State.
Yeah.
I remember Ray for
he'll be selected that you knew that. That's awesome.
Right.
And then we have a director of college scouting, Brian Hudspeth, and he's kind of our point guy that we are always in contact with throughout the fall. He kind of is the contact of Brad. Brad's got a whole lot going on, and so, Brian is able to kind of just manage us while everything's going on in the season. And then there's probably, I'm trying to think off the top of my head, about 6 area scouts.
Okay.
Every team's a little bit different how they divide it up, but we got a southeast, northeast, kind of mid-Atlantic, southwest, and myself, and then kind of a West Coast guy. And then we got an over-the-top guy that does like the whole country.
All right. That answered that question. That's a pretty good hierarchy. But I do remember Ray Agnew. He was one of the first-round draft picks we had with the Patriots. Him and Chris Singleton, I think, for you Patriot fans out there, we had 2 number 1s that year. We took Singleton out of Arizona and Agnew, a defensive tackle or defensive end out of NC State. Another question there, Joni?
Oh, yes. We've got lots of questions.
Patrick, you are like, you're blowing away Hall of Famers right now. You're getting more questions.
Yeah. So Eric Mayer asks, who was your favorite team growing up?
Wow. I don't know. Probably Pittsburgh. That was, I know who he wants me to say.
He wants you to say the Vikings.
Yeah. I was born in Minnesota when my dad was playing there. I do have a little purple and gold in my heart still. That is the homeland. But, a lot of my childhood was spent in Pittsburgh, rooting for the Steelers. My dad played there and ended up coaching there. Just everything that city is about football. It's a pretty cool place. So I'd probably say the Steelers. Sorry, Eric.
Eric, that's okay. You can still go fishing this weekend. It's all right. What else we got?
Okay. Barry Smith asks, who listened to you more, the Jags or the Lions?
Definitely the Lions. Yeah. When I was with the Jaguars, I was that young scout that was just kind of earning my way then. So I didn't have quite the voice in that room that I do now with the Lions.
So you were an assistant strength coach with the Jags. I know that was one of your positions with the Jags.
Yeah.
Question: when guys are lifting in the off season, not so much in the on season, but off season, are there different programs for different groups, sets of like offensive linemen? They do like clean and snatches. They do bench press. Wide receivers or running backs may do different as well. What type of like weight training is done by position breakdown? I'm just curious about that.
This is it really varies from each strength coach, what they believe and value, and what they've learned themselves along the way. We were, obviously the bigs did a lot of power and strength, meaning the offensive and defensive line. That's something you have to be strong to play in the trenches there. And then, a lot of speed and explosiveness with the skill guys. So we did a lot of speed stuff on the field, a lot of explosive movements, clean snatches, all that kind of stuff. But we're also trying to keep them as healthy as possible. So we do a lot of mobility work to keep them loose and healthy and mobile as possible.
Number 1 draft pick this year. I know Al and I both really love them. Terrion Arnold.
Yeah.
What are some of the strengths in Terrion Arnold, and why the Lions, and why the Lions took him with a first-round pick?
Yeah, I think there's just a lot to like about him. As far as his skill set, really good athlete, really quick, fluid feet. His pedal's really smooth. He can change direction. His transition is really good. There's very little stall to it. It's kind of an in and out with a lot of quickness. He's explosive to close. The guy's got really good ball skills. He can find the ball. He can play the ball. He's aggressive playing through receivers for the PBU. And the other thing that we like is that he tackles. This is becoming more of a perimeter game, not just in the passing game, but in the run game. The run games are becoming more perimeter runs, and you see them right down the middle. So corners have to be able to tackle more now than ever. And that's something that we felt Terrion did really well, was just tackle and support the run. And even with Ennis Rakestraw, the second round pick, we felt the same way about him. So just very well-rounded, competitive, tough kids.
When you got shut down corners like that, your scheme, you can do a whole lot with your defense when you got guys who can cover. And that's what this kid does. He's an exceptional cover kid, and he likes to hit.
Yeah. And he's super competitive. That's what we love about him. Even in the short time he's been with us, you can watch some of the tape, and even in the rookie mini camp, the guy you can see his energy on tape. He's bouncing around. He's having a great time. So this kid really loves playing football.
You know, and as great as the players that have come out of Alabama in the last 10, 15 years, now Coach Saban's moved on. The one position that he really had hands on was the defensive backfield. He's a former DB at, I believe, Kent State. You know, he was a DB coach for Belichick when he started with the Browns. So, you know, very rarely do Alabama defensive backs falter in the NFL, and you've got two of them back to back with Brian Branch and Terrion Arnold. More questions for Patrick?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Rob.
Well, we can't. Well, hold on. What time is it? Well, we're running Patrick ragged here for an hour. I know he's got a family. I know he's got things to do. So we'll get him for another 10 minutes, and then we'll get him out of here. But go ahead.
Okay. Rob wants to know, what is the single most important skill needed for the modern NFL quarterback? I say brain. Some say arm. Some speed.
You know what? I would say maybe brain. You know. You got to be able to process really well and really quickly with a lot of things happening at once. So those guys that have the high football intelligence, you know, are usually pretty good players in our league. That's what makes Jared Goff a really good player, maybe more so than his physical talent. He has the ability to process really quickly while, you know, what we say is the bullets are flying. But also, you know, from a physical skill set, accuracy is huge. You know, the windows are so small in our league. You got to be able to fit them in there. So I would say, yes, FBI, football intelligence is probably one, and then accuracy is probably two.
Just to add on to it, Rob, that was a great question, is arm strength. You know, you've got some guys that come in with cannon arms, but they couldn't throw the ball in the ocean. They could not hit a moving target if you gave them, 10 receivers to hit, and they couldn't do it. They couldn't, reading defenses, to your point, processing, reading, second, third reads, getting off those reads and hitting the primary guy. But arm strength, is it such a big deal? I know the windows are small in the NFL, but is it like Tom Brady did not have great arm strength? He had a good arm, and arguably one of the greatest quarterbacks, if not best, that ever played. How much does arm strength play into a quarterback?
Yeah, I mean, it's important. You got to be able to, let the accuracy part, they kind of play hand in hand. You got to be able to drive the ball into those tight windows, with velocity. Mm-hmm. So arm strength is important. You got to have it, but it's not the final selling point on a guy. There's a lot of guys with big arms, like you said, but they can't throw it accurately.
Right.
It is important, especially with weather. You go in this cold weather games, there's high winds. I lived in Buffalo a little bit. And those winds swirl up there, and you got to be able to drive it through the wind to throw it accurately. So arm strength is important. It's just not the end all.
Anticipation. You got to be able to anticipate as well.
Yeah. And that plays football intelligence. Yeah.
Well, I got a question for you. Tell me what your thoughts are on the quarterback room in Atlanta and the quarterback room in Pittsburgh.
I don't want to speak for other teams. I know Atlanta's probably excited to have both those guys. Mm-hmm. The present and the future for them. And then, Pittsburgh, I'm sure they're just hoping that one of those two guys comes out of that battle and plays really good football for them.
Yeah, we was a head scratcher for us with Atlanta, but evidently they've identified, Michael Penix Jr. is the heir apparent, and also, Cousins coming off an Achilles injury. I know all about that. And sometimes that's slow and you never bounce back the way you were. So I think that's kind of an insurance pick that Atlanta had there. But we have some more questions for Patrick.
Oh, yes. We have a lot of questions.
We have a lot of questions.
Yeah. TVJ.
He's on fire. He's on fire.
And fuego.
He certainly is. Who is the favorite player you have scouted? And then Rob similarly has a question. Who was the best pick of your career?
Ooh, okay.
Favorite player, best pick.
My favorite player is probably the guy we just took with Makai Wingo. I just had a lot of love for him, just the way he played the game. It's funny. There was 3 LSU tackles that came out in the draft this year. 2 of them
Mason Smith was one of them. Yep.
And both of them looked the part as far as, they're big, 6'5", 300 plus. But the best player of the three was Mekhi Wingo, in my opinion.
I agree.
And we got him. Those two went, I think, in the third and fourth round, and we got Mekhi in the sixth. And it's just Mekhi does a lot of good things. The size is his biggest knock. And I think that's why he fell to sixth. But he does a lot of good things that I think translate to our league, and I think he's going to be a good player for us. And then the other question was, who's the best player, right? Probably James Houston. I like that one a lot just because and that's the kid we took in the sixth round out of Jackson State 2 years ago. That was kind of a guy that went under the radar, not a lot of teams knew about or had a lot of love for. And I kind of put my name on him. I put my stamp on him. We took him, and he, as a rookie, we kind of thought of him as a developmental guy that had traits, but it was going to take a couple of years to really get going. But the guy came on the scene. He had 8 sacks in 7 games that year. And then we had high expectations for him last year, and then he broke, I think, his ankle and was out for almost the entire year. So that was unfortunate, but he's back healthy now. And I think he's going to be a really good kind of partner in crime with Aiden Hutchinson coming off the edge there.
Yeah, and you also have another one of your top picks in the 2022 third-round pick, Josh Paschal, who's banged up a little bit, so he's going to add some depth there. And I think defensively, you've got the corners now that are going to lock down those wide receivers. You've got the pass rush with Hutchinson. Houston comes in after the injury. I think you guys are going to be a very difficult out for a lot of teams in the NFC. There's no doubt about it. Couple more questions for Mr. Mularkey.
Yes. John Irwin, do colleges provide you film of their games? If so, how long do you keep them?
Good question.
Yes, they do. So we've kind of evolved a lot over the years. So the only way to get tape back in the day was you'd have to go into the school where they filmed the game and you would watch it on beta. And that was the only way to do it. But now we are so far advanced that we have what we call an Exos or Thunder. It's a cloud that all the schools, they'll just push their tape into the cloud, and we can watch it on our iPad anywhere, anytime, any game ever. Snap your finger. So I can pull up any game, and we're got to the point with Pro Football Focus. You can search any guy really at any level, and you can watch just his plays. Or if you just want to watch the 9 pressures that he got in the entire year, it'll pull the 9 pressures from this game, this game, this game, and this game. You can just watch on. I mean, it's so detailed now. It's all at our fingertips, so we can watch film anywhere.
Patrick, how much are you on the road with this? I mean, I know you have a family.
Yeah.
How much are you on the road, not in the off season, but during the season when you're actually actively scouting games and things like that? Like, is it every single week you're on the road? Do you spend a week at home looking at film, but then going on the road? How does that work?
Yeah, no, that's probably the biggest sacrifice we make as scouts is going on the road. I mean, from August through November, you're only home for a couple weekends, and that's it. Most of the time, and the rest of the time, you're on the road. So it's a big, it's a big sacrifice that our families have to make, especially our wives and our children. Those are those 4 months that are really tough that we have to get through. The rest of the year is a little more spread out and manageable, but those 4 months, I like to go about 10 days on the road and then come home for about 2 or 3.
Okay.
And then I'll go out for another 10. But usually that month of August when the teams are in training camp and no games are being played yet, which allows coaches and other staff members to be a little more available to talk to, I'll go out for about 3 weeks straight and just be on the road for 3 weeks and try to gather as much information I can before I come back home and catch my breath.
Now, I'm just a question from me, just real quick before we go to one more, and I don't want to steal anyone's thunder on this one either, but is it similar to like a baseball scouting where they'll look at a player and there'll be like 20 scouts out there? Are you looking at one player and there are scouts from other teams that you see that competitive scouts that are looking at one player, evaluating that? Yeah. And do you know these guys? And hey, how you doing? Yeah. You guys are staying in the same hotel?
We're a very tight-knit group, all us scouts. Some of our best friends are scouts with other teams. Okay. And Yeah, it kind of is random when you'll kind of run into another scout. You might go into a school and there'll be 5 there, or it might just be you. But we're all kind of looking at the same players. We're looking at the draft eligible guys. We don't pay any attention to guys that aren't draft eligible. But we usually have kind of a set list of guys we know are draft eligible and probably making the move to our league the following year. So those are the guys we kind of put our attention on.
Okay. Do you guys share information at all?
No, I mean there's some teams that probably share a little too much information. But you know what? We're all pretty friendly. But we also know we have a job to do, and we try to kind of keep it as professional as we can and leave it at that.
By the way, Patrick, if you notice, we have the Detroit Lions color theme here going on. We've got
our
amazing producer, Tony, just never ceases to amaze me. He comes out with that one, so that's awesome. It matches the hat. We have to get a Detroit Lions helmet here. I've got to get a helmet, and I've got to get a jersey here.
Yeah, we just got some new helmets, so you got to get a new one.
Oh, we got to get a new one out there. So, well, let's see. Okay, I know you're on the road a lot. You sacrifice a lot, and you're doing that tonight for us. So we're just going to do 2 more minutes. Let's grab as many questions as we can in a couple minutes and see what we got.
So there were a couple questions about family life. How do you maintain a family life with the incredible workload? Ryan Allison asked that, and then someone else asked if you brought your family on the road. Do you ever take them on the road?
Oh yeah. Well, as far as the balance, when I try to get all my work done on the road. So when I'm home, I'm home. So I'm not trying to catch up or anything when I'm sitting in my office at home. When I'm home, I'm spending all my time with my kids and my wife. So when when I go back on the road, I'm refreshed and ready to hit the ground running again. And then I make up. We get most of June and July off. So that's time where we're able to kind of just miss or catch up on everything that we missed on. But as far as bringing the family, I know some scouts do that. They bring their wives out for a weekend. Usually not during the week. There's too much going on. There's too much travel and work being done during the week. But sometimes the spouse will fly out to wherever the scout is, maybe attend a game with them, explore whatever city they're in, and then they'll fly home.
So what does Patrick Mularkey like to do to chill? Like when he's not doing the job, what do you like to do?
You'll find me on a beach or on a boat. That's kind of what I like to do. I like to fish. I like to be at the beach. Anything that involves water, I'm usually all about.
That's awesome.
Patrick, before you get away, I got to ask you, man, what advice would you have for the kids in the smaller schools, the HBCU schools, in terms of getting more visibility? And then what advice would you have for the prospects coming up this year?
Every college now is almost building like a personnel department, like an NFL team, where they have a lot of people evaluating all levels of football. So those kids at those HBCUs, just do whatever you can to put the best tape you can on, or put whatever you can on tape, and it'll be evaluated. And if you're good enough to go up a level, they'll certainly come get you, just like we will for guys with our league. I would just say work hard, stay healthy, and when the play's there, make it. Stay out of trouble. Those are usually pretty good keys to success there.
It's always been, if you're good enough. There's been a lot of guys drafted that were, back then it was 1AA. Al, you played in the 1AA, Division 2 and 3. If you're good enough, and like you've got a kid here, Giovanni Manu, offensive tackle. Maybe you could just talk briefly about him because a lot of people aren't going to be familiar with him. The guy is a mammoth. You said he's like 5% body fat and he's like 6'7", 340. That's insane.
Yeah, he's a naturally just a massive human being. He's got an interesting story. I think he's Tongan, and he moved to Canada. Could be wrong with it. I think in high school, maybe earlier. And he was a rugby player, and they didn't have rugby at the school, so they said, "Why don't you try American football?" And I guess he went home, YouTubed American football, and the first thing he saw was like a Ray Lewis highlight tape, and he watched that, and he was instantly hooked. So he started playing football there. But this kid has only been playing football for like 2-3 years max. But he's a really, really athletic kid. His pro day was awesome. Just as a natural athlete for how big he is. I think he ran 4.98, jumped 33.5. Again, at 6'7", 360 pounds. So This guy he's very raw. He's going to need some time to develop, but the skill set's there. He's a great kid that wants it. So we're ready to invest in a player like that. We view him as just this big piece of clay that we can mold to wherever we want. We don't have to break any bad habits or anything. We can just mold him the way we want. So he's a couple years away, but if this kid hits his ceiling, we're going to hit big with him.
Al, wouldn't you love to have this guy blocking for you? Wouldn't you love to have him blocking?
He was put together. Yes, he was put together in a lab, man. That big, that body fat. I mean, he played rugby at that size. I mean, that's incredible.
No, it's really, really incredible what he can do. I mean, I think you can even YouTube his pro day and just watch him run the 40. You know, a lot of big guys that kind of drag their feet. They can't drive their knees. This guy looks like an Olympic sprinter at 370 pounds, just pumping his arms, driving his knees, and they're doing almost wrestling mat drills with this guy. This guy's on all fours and he's rolling around. I mean, this is a massive human doing it. So a really athletic kid that we're excited about.
And it's interesting, that pick parallels what the Eagles did a couple years ago when they took someone out of New Zealand who was a rugby player as well. I don't know his name off the top of my head. He's a starter now and he's a Pro Bowl caliber player. And he was projected as a project, and now look at him.
Yeah, he's one of the best tackles in the league. I think he just got paid big time, either last year or very not too long ago. But yeah, that's what we're trying to aim for. You know, hopefully, if he comes anything close to that, obviously, it was a really good draft pick. This kid just needs time. Needs time to develop.
Well, let's grab two more questions, and then we'll say goodnight to Patrick and let him actually tuck his kids in and go to bed. So, Jody, why don't we go with two more questions? Then we'll bring on the book after this as well. I know people are clamoring to find out what he thinks about the Lions and their Super Bowl chances next year. So, two more questions.
Just two more. How about two more questions and a request?
Okay, two more questions and a request. This is interesting. Okay. Let's
do it. All right. Well, actually, there are three more questions and a request.
Three more questions and a request. Okay.
Hey, the kids are in bed. I'm good to go.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Look at this.
Oh, good. All right. So were a couple questions surrounding the draft. So I'm going to lump them all together. Howard Bloom wants to know, how did the Lions have the quarterback in this year's draft ranked?
That's a good question.
Howard gives us good ones.
Yeah, I'm not really sure about that one. I can't recall just because, I mean, obviously we didn't have, really much need for quarterbacks. I don't think a lot of was put into, those top tier guys.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, Caleb was high up there. Drake May was high up there. I scouted Jaden at LSU and thought very highly of him. Kind of where he went is where I thought he should go.
Mm-hmm.
So we had him kind of in that stack. I don't think we had anyone too far off from how they went.
I was going to say, you probably saw a lot of Jaden Daniels checking out Mekhi Wingo. So he had a tremendous year.
Player. Yeah, it was awesome, man. He's a great player, and excited to see what he does in our league.
All right. That's one down. Now we got two more to go in the request. I can't wait for the request.
No, we have three more.
Oh, three more. We just keep. I got to say, Patrick, I am not kidding you. We've had Pro Bowlers, we've had Hall of Famers,
Mm-hmm.
we had All-Stars. You have blown them all away as far as questions. So
absolutely.
Let's go. A couple more.
Okay.
A couple more.
Another draft question. Rob, who was your biggest miss on draft day?
No.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Oh, that's one we don't like to admit.
Mm-hmm.
No, but that's what us scouts think about probably the most, the guys we missed on more than we hit. My biggest miss is probably L'Jarius Sneed, the corner with the Chiefs that just got traded to the Titans.
Yes.
Credit to them. They saw something that I didn't. I think they took him in the fourth, and he's become a great player for them. And now with the Titans, but he was probably the one guy that really sticks out to me.
Well, guys, it's an inexact science, right? I mean, why does Tom Brady go to the 6th round, 199? Why does a player like Brock Purdy get picked, Mr. Irrelevant, who had a really nice career at Iowa State? He succeeded there, and look what he does. He comes in, supplants, who was the kid at North Dakota State who they drafted? I think he ended up. Who's now the backup for Dak Prescott at Dallas. And he goes on and goes to an NFC Championship game and a Super Bowl. So if people knew that, they probably would have been drafted higher. So it kind of is an inexact science.
Yeah, I mean, you got human beings evaluating human beings, so there's a lot of room for error, and there's a lot of things that we can't scout that aren't on tape. The Tom Brady thing, it's the heart. It's that he had. It was the drive that made him really, really good, and those things aren't aren't visible on tape. So, but yeah, there's room for error. There is a lot of luck in this game. You know, it's the drafting game. We just try to do our best to kind of increase our chances of hitting.
Well, you guys have done an amazing job. So a couple more, Joni.
Okay. TVJ, how big of a role do scouts play on draft day?
On draft day, not so much. Usually the hay's in the barn at that point. You know, we've done all the work. We presented everything to our general manager, and now it's up to him and really our head coach to draft whoever they think is our best fit, you know, for our team.
Well, this has been my favorite episode by far. Someone's already chimed in. So,
all right. Awesome.
I don't know, Patrick, I might have to have you back like every other month or something to get ratings up. I mean, this is unbelievable.
You're regular.
Okay, who else have we got?
So John Irwin has an interesting question. Has the constant activity of the transfer portal made harder with players switching teams and schemes, or just seeing them in different environments help evaluate them?
It's made it extremely, extremely tricky.
Good question, John.
Yeah, that's actually a really good question. We're still trying to figure it all out on our end. But you know, it's been really hard to kind of just keep track of where everyone's at, and everyone, you know, year in and year out, because sometimes they're there for a year and then they're gone, and there's so many transactions happening with kids around the country. You don't know when they're going or leaving, so it's kind of that makes it tricky. You know, sometimes you put in a lot of work on a kid for 1 year, and then he goes back to school and transfers, so that's always tough. But I'm actually dealing with that right now. So I'm watching 2025 draft class, and we have to have a preliminary grade on all these guys by, you know, the beginning of June. And in prior years before the transfer portal, for LSU example, you would watch 4 games on LSU, and you'd watch the draft eligible guys for LSU, and then you'd be done. Well, now I have to watch the 4 LSU games, and then I got to watch the 4 games on this corner that transferred from Mississippi, and then I got to watch 4 games on this tackle from Missouri, and then I got to watch 3 games on this kid from Austin Peay. And you know, they might have 10, 12, you know, transfers. So instead of watching 4 tapes, I'm watching 16, 17 games before I even type a report. So it has increased the workload quite a bit, you know, at least in the springtime. And you don't even really know if they're going to play or what kind of spot they're going to have on their roster, if they're even going to be involved. So you do a lot of work, and sometimes, you know, then you go into the fall and you realize that you did a lot of work for nothing. But it's made it tricky. I think it's made it tricky for us. It's made it tricky for, you know, college teams. It's just we're in unknown territory right now. It's a little bit of the wild, wild west with everything that's happening, and you know, we're all just kind of figuring it out as we go.
Great question.
Patrick, is that a numerical grade or a letter grade?
It's numerical. We kind of do it by starter, backup, you know, fringe roster, free agent kind of grade right now.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really just to get our general manager or higher ups an idea of where the top players are in the country, so they know how to build their schedule for the fall, so where they know where to go.
Got it.
All right, that was actually John. In truth be told, John's been one of our guests. He played college ball with Brian Kelly at Assumption College. You know, obviously the head coach at LSU. You know Brian. Yeah. So John actually played with him and was coached by him as well. So, okay, who else we have?
Okay, Tony Smeraldi says, "Happy you're on the show." A lot of fans are happy you're on the show. Obviously, did you have any issues getting clearance from the Lions to be on the show?
No, they were very, very cool about it. You know, I ran it by them, and you know, they gave me a thumbs up pretty quickly. So, was happy. Yeah, they were usually pretty good about this.
This is awesome. I mean, no, this has been really, really tremendous. I know that I've just gained so much knowledge about, you know, the draft process now, and, you know, what the scouts do, and just all the work that it takes to become a scout. I mean, you guys are really, really busy. You're looking at a lot of game film. I mean, a lot of game film. Patrick, you're a class act. You are a class act. What else we got?
So there are a couple of people want to know what your plans are for the future.
Oh, okay. Here we go.
What are your aspirations?
Hope win Super Bowl next year.
I like that.
One. You know, and then just trying to take the next step in my career whenever that may happen. You know, that's kind of becoming a little more involved in scouting. You know, more of a bigger area, more of the national So that would be kind of the next step for me. But I'm all being in it 16 years now, and a couple of tough years with the Lions. I'm all about winning. And I'm excited for what we're about to do here. So looking forward to that.
Well, I can tell you one thing: you made Lions fans out of all of us. I know Al loved you last year. You were the darlings of the NFL. Now you're the darlings of Swartz Talkin Sports. So we're big Detroit Lions fans here. What's the request?
The request. All right, everybody ready for this? Eric Mayer, can we get Patrick to do the Skol chant just once before the interview ends?
My God, what is that?
This guy, I don't know. You have to block this guy.
What is a Skol chant?
Yeah, I think that's that silly little thing they do when they clap their hands together, play patty cake. I'm not really.
Oh
God!
My God! Eric, really? You're gonna throw this show a curveball at the very end? That's incredible. Bill Belichick wouldn't have given the clearance. That's probably true.
That's probably true.
I'm glad Bill Belichick is where he is now. Let him stick with the Mannings every Monday night. But listen, I want to thank you. I know, Al, this has been awesome.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, you're a class act for real, man. I tell you what, this has been educational. I'm a much smarter person right now because I understand what you guys do, and I'm sure all of our viewers feel the same way.
Yeah, and I appreciate you guys having me. I love talking football, so anytime you want me on, just say it.
Well, Patrick, we wish you, I know June and July are little down months for you, so enjoy the family time, enjoy the beach, fishing with Eric. Let's get away from the Skol chants. And we're big fans. You are a class act. We really appreciate you coming on. And we are Detroit Lions fans, and we'd love to stay in touch.
Oh, you got it, guys. Talk soon.
All right. Thanks, Patrick. That's Patrick Mularkey, area scout with the NFC champ Detroit Lions. We're going to be back finally. We got Benny the Book. Don't worry, he's here. Benny the Book with Al Chester after this.
Forever 24 Fit, Leland's only gym with 24-hour access. Get fit when it's convenient, utilizing Life Fitness, cardio, and weight machines. And for those of you who prefer free weights, there is a free weight area as well. Start your membership today and get on your way to a better you. Six Happiness. Enjoy fresh Asian cuisine in a relaxed and friendly atmosphere where we believe good times deserve great food. Featuring the best sushi chefs in the Leland area. So come on in and we guarantee you will be delighted.
Welcome back to Swartz Talkin Sports. I am your host, Les Swartz. Al Chester riding shotgun, and look who popped up on the right, my peripheral vision. I see him. I see Benny the Book, the King of Carolina.
I was out on the road today. Scouting some CAA tournament.
Yeah, what's going on with that?
Might have had a major upset there early. The number 3 seed,
Northeastern Huskies.
They were losing 11-9 going to the bottom of the 8th against the Hofstra Pride, my home team, 10 minutes away from where I grew up.
Okay. Did they hang on, or is it still going on?
I don't know. It was we left. It was because I had to get back. You were asking me where I was. I was on the road.
Al, this is the CAA, the Coastal Athletic Association. Remember we had the commissioner on the show, Joe D'Antonio, tremendous. So they're having the tournament right here in Wilmington, North Carolina. Looks like UNCW is probably going to be an at-large or make the college playoffs. They look like a really, really good team this year. So we're going to be going, Tony and I, producer, will be going to tomorrow night's opening round game for UNCW. But
yeah, you're probably going to see, I don't know who won the 4-5 earlier game. I didn't get a final on who won that game. So that's who they're probably going to play. If Hofstra held on, Hofstra will end up playing Charleston, the number 1 seed.
Okay.
So they'll play the winner of the 4-5 game.
Yeah, I think it was William and Mary. I forget who was the second game. I think William and Mary played somebody. I'm not exactly sure. But so guys, real quick, I know Monday, Benny and I, we did this with baseball. Al, we talked NBA playoffs a little bit. And we look at last night. Benny's picking the Indianapolis Pacers. The Indianapolis Pacers.
Yeah.
The Indiana Pacers to beat the Celtics in 6.
Yeah, they should have won the game last night. They hurt me. They hurt me last night. They would have stole game 1.
Indianapolis Pacers. Where did I get that from? Indiana Pacers, the ABA
Indiana
Pacers, right?
Well,
Al, do the Pacers have a shot at knocking off the Celtics?
Well, you know what? They're playing so physical, man. I want to give these guys some shoulder pads and helmets, man. The second season is real physical, more than I've ever seen before. But I tell you what, the way they're playing, anything less can happen, man. I tell you what, whoever's got the hot hand, I mean, they can pull it out. I mean, you got to get that ball in the hoop. And I tell you what, this time of the year, it's all or nothing.
Yeah, but, you look at the end of that game, Benny, to your point, all the Pacers have to do really is inbound the ball with like 5.8 seconds to go. Carlisle does not call timeout. It goes off Siakam, out of bounds. Brown bails out Tatum, who really did not have a great fourth quarter. He lit it up in overtime. But, he missed a three-pointer, he missed a runner, he missed a layup in the last minute of the game, and Brown hits this fall-away corner three and makes the defensive play as well. He really saved the Celtics bacon last night. I still say, without Porzingis, I know we've got people out there. I know John thinks the Celtics are just as good without Porzingis. I do not think so. I don't think they win a championship without the big man in the middle.
No.
Yeah, it's going to be challenging. I agree. I tell you what, but you're right. The jumper by Brown that tied it up, and then he played well on defense. But and they're at home, so you would think they would be on point at home. For the Pacers to play like that, they should have won that game. They let it get away from them.
They were when I was watching, Celtics had control. They looked like they were going to blow them out. They were up double digits, and I was surprised that when I heard the final 26 seconds, everybody agrees they just gave the game away.
Joni and I did watch the overtime. We definitely did that. So I'm going to get both your takes on the second series going on in the Western Conference, and that is both the number 1 and 2 seeds knocked out. You had Oak City, who, by the way, I'm flying to Oklahoma City Monday. It's too bad they weren't playing. I would have loved to got tickets to see a game there. So Oklahoma City gets knocked out, and then the defending champs and the MVP, Jokic, lose in 7 to Minnesota in a bizarre series.
Up 20 in the fourth, up 20 in the second half, and they lose at home.
Al, who wins this thing, Dallas or Minnesota?
I tell you what, I'm an Anthony.
He's the Ant-Man. He's the Ant-Man.
He's the dude, man. I said that when we had Oakley on the show. This guy is playing at another level right now, and he makes everybody around him much better.
That's right, Al.
If the other guys will complement his play, they'll be off and running, man. I think they're going to be tough to beat. I say the winner out of the series, just like Oak did, was going to come out of the Denver, Minnesota series, and I think they can win it all.
Yeah, that's what Oakley said.
I do too.
He did. He said that.
I do too.
I'm just curious. I know Anthony Edwards, who I think is going to be the face of the league. I just think he's a tremendous all-around talent. I mean, he does it all. He didn't have a great game in Game 7. He had a tough first half, but he hit a couple of big three-pointers late that really gave him a little bit of a cushion there. But I'm thinking him against Doncic, Luka Doncic, who. Listen, Al, I want to get your take on this guy. Benny and I love his game, but my God, he's got to be the biggest crybaby in the NBA.
Oh my God, every time.
Oh my God,
he's a big guy, man. He's slow in comparison, but he can shoot the air out that basketball, man. Yeah. I tell you what, he can shoot the air out of it.
But if you get close to the guy, he cries.
Yeah, he's gonna whine, but he's not the only whine. I mean, give him some tissue, and so he can wipe his eyes. But he's gonna cry.
So, real quick, I know, Ben, I don't know if you had a chance to check this out, but maybe you're on the computer, laptop, real quick. The Lions, what are they picked to go to the Super Bowl this year? They have to be, I would say, one of the favorites.
Oh, I don't know.
I know. I jumped you on that one. I should have had you look this up. You were on the road, but maybe for next show we can check it out. But I'd love to see. I would think that the Lions have to be one of the favorites out of the NFC.
Well, I got to tell you, they got to. No doubt about it. I mean, they were a half away from going to the winning and going to the Super Bowl, and I think they learned a lot. They got a very, very good coach. I think he learned a little bit. They got a great. Their division has improved so much. It's like Green Bay, they're going to be there. The Lions, they're going to be there. Like that might be one of those divisions where 3 or 4 of their teams might make the playoffs.
Yeah, because I think Chicago's going to be improved.
Atlanta's division New Orleans, Tampa Bay. They'll all end up 7-9. And the Lions, the Packers, the Bears, oh my. The Lions, the Packers, the Bears, oh my.
I know. Well, let me ask you, so Al, last year coming so close, having the lead against the Niners in San Francisco, I think a lot of it probably was inexperience. A lot of guys besides Goff being there for the first time. Do you think that really is going to help them get over the hump if they get in that same situation again this year?
Absolutely. I think that that game experience you can't beat, and having been there, been so close, and adding value to the team with some additional players and having a feel for the game. I think Detroit's going to be tough to handle. I think that because they got so close, it's going to be sweet for them this year. They can stay healthy. We talked about that quarterback thing. You got to have two quarterbacks in the league. You got to have two guys ready to go. If Goff can stay healthy and they can have the kind of camaraderie they had last season, watch out for the Detroit Lions.
Yep, I agree.
Well, I mean, Hooker's the backup. I mean, he played really well at Tennessee, got hurt. To Patrick's point, this is really going to be his first year. So he's going to learn, from Goff. And they just paid Goff a lot of money. I think they made him, Benny, I don't know, is he the highest paid quarterback in the NFL now? He just signed a whopper of a deal.
Yeah, he just signed a whopper, but I don't think he's the highest.
Okay, so he's definitely one of the top five highest quarterbacks in the league.
Oh yeah.
He's taken the Rams to a Super Bowl, where they played the Patriots. So he has the ability to quarterback a team to a Super Bowl. He's done it. So Al, to your point, the other guy, Cousins, he can't kick the door in. Goff's kicked the door in. He's got you to the big game.
Yeah, absolutely.
They've got the offensive line. I think they've really addressed, the cornerback position. They were rated 26th in pass defense last year. And now they've got the edge rusher. You got Houston going to come back from injury, assuming he's healthy. Now you've drafted two corners in the first two rounds this year. They're both going to get great playing time. Terry Donald is going to start from day one. He's going to be your day one starter. There's no doubt about it. We all had him rated as the number one cornerback in the draft this year. Him and the kid from Toledo, they were both 1A, 1B. So I'm a Lions fan. I mean, I have to be a Lions fan. I mean, now that Patrick's been on the show and he was outstanding, he was staying late, answering all the questions.
Very informative.
Yeah, what did you think about that, Ben? What did you think about?
Very informative. I had a few questions, but I don't know how to get in to ask some questions. You guys did take up all my time.
Well, we're gonna no. Next time he comes back, because Patrick's gonna come back, we're gonna do a 4-up, and you're gonna be able to ask the questions. But
because I was wondering, what do you guys think? Like, do the Lions when he has his area? I'm sure they don't tell him go look at the quarterbacks that you're scouting, because they don't need a quarterback. Do they tell him focus on these positions because this is where we're going to be able to draft, and do they give him a heads up?
Well, I'm sure they identify certain players.
Don't bother looking at hey, look at the LSU quarterback. I mean, but they have no draft. They're not going to have any choice, But what happens if he thinks he's the next Tom Brady?
All right. Well,
Ben, I asked him that question during the pre-talk before the show started about do we look at players for position or do we look for just the best players? Right. And they just look for football players, I think, and then they take it to the GM. And then they decide which direction they want to go in. But he identified those players, and a lot of them are already identified. But they don't target in on a particular player, a particular, based on their scheme, because that's what I would think too. They're looking for players who fit their scheme.
Fit their scheme.
But But he
Al,
said they look for football players.
But Al, the interesting thing is his favorite pick and the guy that he got, James Houston, is a Jackson State kid who played for Coach Prime.
How about that?
So he comes right out of an HBCU school. He doesn't have to transfer to an upper, an FBS school, and he goes right into the NFL. And other than the injury, hopefully he comes back healthy from the ankle injury. He's going to be counted on for the Lions to be that bookend rusher with Aiden Hutchinson. So
I tell you what, and because of his success, that's a plug in for the other guys at the HBCU level and the smaller schools, because like they say, if you can play, they'll find you. All we ever ask for is an opportunity, and that's all we want to try to get guys opportunities, get them in camp. Houston got in camp, man, and I tell you what, he's been lighting it up so they can write it up.
Yeah, I like that. I like it. Light it up and write it. I like that. Well, guys, I know, Benny, I'm sorry. I know it was a late thing. I know we tried to get you in. I know you were on the road. You weren't even in our pre-meeting here this week.
No.
But we're going to try to do something in the next couple weeks. I know, Al, you're working on a special guest for us on the show, former Dallas Cowboy offensive lineman great Nate Newton, a FAMU alum as well. Hopefully we can grab Nate in the next 2 weeks. I don't know how that's going to work out. You think we got a shot?
Yeah, we got a shot. I'm waiting to hear back from him. That's
Okay.
why we needed a couple of dates. So he's going to get back to me. And I'm excited about having Big Nate on.
Nate.
Yeah. He listen, he was there. He blocked for, I don't know, I did a poll on the new. Okay. You know, it's funny. Tony's giving me things now. Now I'm trying to read what Tony's writing, and it's so late now, the 8 o'clock time, I can't read it. So he's doing some poll on something. But, you know, we're going to have Nate Newton on, who was part of that famed offensive line with the Cowboys with Eric Williams and Larry Allen blocking for, I believe, Emmitt Smith. Al's got us, we got a couple Olympians that are going to be coming on in July. I'm excited about that. We'll do an Olympic month. We've got, so that's going to be great. Our first female athlete, Al, is going to be coming on Swartz Talkin Sports. That's going to be exciting.
Okay. Chandra Treesboro.
That's right. Current track coach at Tennessee State, but she won a gold medal in the hurdles in 1984 in the Olympic, in the LA Olympics.
Nice.
And Garrett Scanlon,
who was a decathlete, exactly, in the last Olympics, finished 4th overall, I believe, right?
Right.
Yeah, so we're going to have them on in July. So we're going to do some things, and of course,
all from Jacksonville, all Jacksonville people.
Well, J-Town, man, J-Town, right?
Yeah, that's
just for
the
everyone
hotbed.
here.
It's a hotbed there.
It's just for everyone here who's a subscriber and a viewer in this area, in the Leland, North Carolina area. We are going to be doing a show remote at Locals. It's going to happen most likely in July. We're going to do our best to get Al up here. We got to get our host up here. We're going to do our best to get Vince. I've been in contact with Vince. We're going to try to work it out where we do the show on a Sunday afternoon. When we get it nailed down, we're going to promote the heck out of this thing. Also, we are going to be featured in North Brunswick Magazine. Really excited about that. We think it might be in the fall or even August, but we've already been interviewed for it, so I'm pretty excited about that. So big news for Swartz Talkin Sports. But again, Ben, we'll get you in there full-time next time. I know you got some things for Patrick Mularkey, and we'll definitely have Patrick back. So I appreciate you standing by and all that. And
by the way, Rangers are losing 1-0 in the second period.
And that's and we need the Rangers and original 6 team to beat the Panthers. We don't want Al, I know you're a Florida guy, but we don't want the Panthers in the Stanley Cup Finals.
Okay.
It just doesn't work. Florida hockey in Florida, I'm sorry, I just can't get used to that.
That's all in water. It doesn't mix.
Yeah, it does not mix for me. Although Jeremy Roenick would be a welcome addition back. He was fantastic. But listen, I want to thank both you guys. Ben, thanks for hanging out. Al, thank you so much. Great show.
Good seeing you.
Yes, sir.
See you guys next week.
We'll see you next week. We'll let everyone know who's going to be on. I will be back with the wrap after this break.
Locals Tavern, Leland, North Carolina's favorite neighborhood bar, just south of the bridge where everyone truly does know your name, offers a variety of cold brews, wine, and specialty cocktails, and offers something for everyone on their food menu. With daily lunch specials and live evening entertainment, Locals is a hot spot you won't want to miss, where you can unwind in a casual atmosphere with friends, both old and new.
Welcome back. I'm Les Swartz, and this is Swartz Talkin Sports. Outstanding show today. I want to thank my special guest today, Patrick Mularkey, area scout for the Detroit Lions. I mean, just outstanding information out there. A lot of great input from our viewers. Excellent show. This is the fan show. You guys ripped it up tonight. Really appreciative for all the comments, all the questions. Outstanding out there. If you're a first-time listener or viewer of the show, check us out. Subscribe. Hit that subscribe button. Comment. Let us know what you thought of the show. Things we can do better. Guests you'd like to have on. You know, our net is large. We'll try to fish and get those guests in there for you. So really appreciate all the support out there, especially tonight's show. We did 2 and 1 this week. So great job by Tony Smiraldi, really getting this thing going. He was under the pressure this week. Joni, this was probably her busiest show, throwing those questions and comments out there. So thanks for Joni. Want to thank again everybody. And again, Patrick Mularkey, for Patrick, for Al, Chester the Rattler, for Benny the Book, Tony Smiraldi, Joni, everyone here at Swartz Talkin Sports. I'm Les Swartz. We'll see you next Wednesday, everybody. Good night.